Okay, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back, podcast and chill.
What more can you ask for?
What more can you ask for? The best podcast you never heard of
Until right
till
now.
now. What's good, everybody? Great, googly moogly.
Everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes, sir. Chris Bernard.
I don't know what's going on with that. I gotta get.
You can go back to Brantford.
Yeah.
Right on. That's a special cut.
Always looking good, Mr. Quinto. Always looking fresh. Always looking fly. Always looking so dapper.
Thank you.
How are you, bro?
That's why I love you. You're good for my ego. So we had experienced Father's Day,
yes.
And I have to say I was quite spoiled. I got new wardrobe. I badly needed like summer clothes, even just like plain t-shirts.
Same.
Like I'm.
Same. Like it's wrong. It's wrong.
I'm like, when you're off season because you're just not happy with the stuff that you do have.
Yeah. It's like I haven't been shopping, like not even online. Like it's just Yes.
And then now I'm like I want to try it on. I don't want to just order.
Now you want to try it on.
Yeah. Now I want to go to the mall. Now. When you can't have it, you want it.
Yeah.
Oh, honestly, God, like just athletic shorts, like those jogger shorts, t-shirts.
Fresh tee, not like a nice.
The long Kanye kind of hanging, like. So there's a little bit of swag, It's not just a square tee,
A little bit of length in that.
Yeah, lengthen it a little bit. Make me taller. Make me thinner.
Nice.
Honestly, it was just the most straightforward stuff that made me so happy because I was like getting down. Wearing raggedy stuff for a while.
Yeah, it's like the underwear you got from Christmas is starting to like show up, and I was like, oh, man, I gotta.
You're cycling through your wardrobe, and you're like, I'm here again. Like, oh gosh. Like my white t-shirts are turning gray. Like,
they started as white, now they're like ash gray. Like, it's
into the wrinkled neck.
You can see that? Damn, that's why I put this
on. It's terrible dad problems.
Dad bods, that's what it is.
Yeah, like our interests get put to the back burner,
Yes,
we always dress our kids first.
Exactly.
No question. And the other thing, it was funny, we did like a little maternity photo shoot. One of Chantel's good friends wanted to do it for the family, and we just come up with some really sweet shots. And Tristan stole the show. Like he's so funny. Like I imagine a lot of kids have to be entertained, and it's like shake.
Oh yeah, like look
attention. Hey, smile, and he's kind of all about it. So
he's just posing.
Yeah, he's okay. And I look at some of the poses, and I'm like, oh, this kid knows what he's doing. So it was just funny. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
To be honest, you taught him. Like, yeah, I taught him.
I don't know. We always take pictures, like amongst ourselves.
Yeah, listen, he's got to learn. He's got to look good. Like,
it's important, I think.
It's important. It's important. Look good, feel good.
Look good, feel good. Yeah, play good, they pay good.
Right. That's right. Look good, feel good. That's right.
Yeah. So what's going on? How's the family?
Family's been amazing. They've been
a handful.
Yeah. Yes. It's been a testament to patience. Jeez, it's like reminding myself, okay, how do I appear right now? Am I like big scary dad? Like what's happening in your world? It's that constant how am I being taken in here?
Okay.
Let me know. They let me know constantly, like, yeah,
Really?
yeah, like, okay, so Karis knows when she wants to go outside. Like, we got a nice routine happening, but like non-verbally, she'll just be like, yeah, like we're going, like, I'm like, yeah, it's coming, and it gets louder and louder. So I'm like,
Oh wow.
wait a second, who's training who?
Yeah, that's
And
right.
like I'm probably like, yes, I figured out what it is you want. But I'm like, huh, I'm being trained also. This is cool.
I was gonna say, is she talking more?
Yes, small things, small little.
Right.
It's starting to come, but I'm not in any rush. I enjoy. I'll be honest.
Yeah, no
There's a
kidding.
lot of talking going on.
Oh boy.
It's like that quiet, elusive moment. So I'm encouraging the development of speech, but I'm not
Engaging in
I
it.
like that silence. Like,
You're just pacing. You're pacing.
yeah, exactly.
That's
Oh
hilarious.
gosh, hilarious.
This is a beautiful tie-in because I've talked a lot more about my family in recent podcasts. I want to ask you about your upbringing, as you did talk about the Jamaican background, and like your mom and dad, like are they? Did they move here from abroad, or we know you were born here?
Yes, as well. I spoke about my dad from Jamaica. My mom is from Guyana.
Okay.
They moved here, not together. They moved here respectively, and then they met here. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
like my parents actually. Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, but wait, your parents.
They met here and married here. They didn't.
Oh,
They didn't meet back in the Philippines and then move here. And one would assume same thing with you, right? Like,
yeah, that's right.
like
Because
first
community, right?
generation.
They just find that community. They move and they find the community, and then just it.
Yeah. You see how interesting that is? Like, when you move to another country, you look for comfort by people of the same culture still.
That's right. That's right. And what's interesting. I recently found out is that my parents and Chantel's parents knew each other. Well, knew the same people
Yeah.
way back when type thing. I was like, oh,
Wow.
okay, so
Interesting.
yeah, it's weird. It is weird. It's the most random place ever, and it's like, oh, what the?
How did that come up?
Yeah, it's just
How did that come up?
just well, I don't know about your parents, but my parents, when they say back home and they ask which part are you from, they
Yeah.
and it was that conversation.
Yeah.
Back home, oh, that they know each, and then it was like, okay, so
Yeah.
there's a connection there. It's
Down to the neighborhood, down to the street, down to the school, you know, like the whole.
down to the dude who sold fish.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
When you're living it, you don't realize those things can be a connection, like whenever, right?
Yeah, it's like, interesting.
It's nostalgic.
Yeah, it's connected.
You're from Guyana, I'm from Guyana. Wait, what's? Oh, yeah, the teacher. Oh,
What the? Yeah.
remember the? You know, it's like,
Oh my
oh,
god.
that's amazing.
Yeah. So it's so specific. It's like that. How did all the way back? And I'm talking like generations. I'm talking.
Holy smokes!
Yeah. It's it's weird.
So what can you tell us about Guyanese culture? I know more than a handful, but I don't know a whole lot about even location and like culture and food and all that. Like,
You'll get me in trouble here. Guyana is fun.
I love it.
So it is the neighboring country, Costa Rica, would be. It's around
Yeah.
that region. So culturally, like soca, calypso. Well, all the islands have their versions of that, but what specifically Guyanese, other than Kaicher Falls? Jamaica has Dunn's River Falls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
Pacific to I'm gonna get in trouble here. Other than I don't know. They're just listen. I will say this: not Guyanese people angry,
All passion, like
passionate,
hot-blooded.
hot-blooded, and they hold grudges like nobody's business.
Like, come on.
Like,
All nationalities hold grudges.
No,
not like the Chinese, huh?
the Guyanese grudges is something. It's something else. It
That's
is like,
generational
it
too.
becomes a work of art. Like holding that grudge for
Holy.
generations, a generational grudge. I don't know. I can't even. Incredible. It's actually, it's pretty impressive. But like, I will say also this: the music, not for everyone, but
okay.
there are some. Again, I said the Mighty Sparrow is one that comes to mind. The music is beautiful, beautiful. Guyanese music is just at its heart is it's love. It's just it's loud, it's fast, gets annoying sometimes, but it's nice. Yes.
Okay, and break it down to food.
Food. See, the thing is, my mom makes really nice curry. Actually, Chantal makes better curry and roti. Pepper pot, which I'm not a fan of, I think is would be like the dish because they have it at Christmas, and it depends who makes it. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's not that great.
Okay, is it referred to as hot pot too, or no?
I don't know.
So is it spicy and hot, or like just
again depends who makes it? Depends.
Oh, all those different variations. Yeah.
And what's interesting, growing up, I had blood pudding, and I thought that was Guyanese.
Right.
I went into like a Korean restaurant. I saw it on the menu. I was like,
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, you know, the food has very different flavors depending on which region you go.
Okay, sure. You know, Guyanese too, like, I see different skin tones, Guyanese. Like,
I remember
my own, I've seen, like Indian, black, like, I'm like, holy smokes, what a...
Chinese, Indian.
Yes.
It's always a trip. It's always a trip when...
Totally.
I remember when some people came to... where I was working, and they were foreign, and they were Asian.
Yeah.
Well, but they looked Asian. They were actually Guyanese, and
right.
They hit me with the patois, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
It was fantastic. It was fantastic.
Yes.
Love it.
It's just so exotic. I'm like, holy smokes.
Yeah. I like, actually, I don't know about Crazy Rich Asians. There's Asian with the Australian or the British accent. It's like, I love this. I love this. It really messes with the right. I love it. I absolutely love it. So I love going and seeing Japanese people speaking with Jamaican accents.
Yes, exactly.
You know, I love it. It's just, I cross culture. I love it.
Did you hear about, I think it was in the Cambridge, Kitchener-Waterloo region, there was these letters passed out about multicultural, interracial couples. It was a brutal letter. It was truly racist, like how like given some statistics about how difficult it is for children and this and that and how it really just erodes that society. This was in the mail. It was like a mailer.
Actually?
Yeah, there was like a couple. It would be a picture of like an interracial couple kissing, and then there's like all these points. I'll try to find it right now.
Oh my gosh, that is interesting that somebody took the time to hire.
I know, to do that in Europe, right?
To make these copy paper and cheap. Interesting. Was it like glossy or laminated? I think it's interesting.
Okay, I'll find it here. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna pull this.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was like, what? Is this real?
Like, was postage paid on this? Was it like just delivered? Like, I'm actually.
Racist flyer sent to apartment units in Waterloo. Flyer makes racist statements about negative consequences of interracial relationships. There it is. Racist flyers opposing interracial marriage have been sent to tenants in at least 2 buildings owned by Wilfrid Laurier University. The flyers have an image of a black man and white woman sitting next to one another. Underneath the type flyer goes on to make racist accusations about IQ and other health outcomes of mixed race children.
Interesting.
The flyers were sent through Canada Post. Photo of the flyer submitted to CBC shows no signature or return address. Let's see here. I'm trying to find, I wanted to read what was, yeah, like how does that get passed?
I think a lot of people just didn't read it, to be honest. They were probably like, oh, look at the picture. Said, okay, sure.
Oh, I can't find a photograph of it.
It's unsettling. It's actually that it got all the way to like people's mailboxes.
The picture looked like.
I did think you were kidding at first. I was like, no way.
No. The rate of domestic violence amongst mixed race partners is higher. Furthermore, children drink and smoke more at higher rates, like mixed or biracial children. Children also tend to live with low self-esteem and social isolation. They have no sense of identity. Here we go. What else do they have? It has been a detriment that IQ has a large heritable component and is highly correlated to race. By ignoring race, we may condemn our children to mediocrity, since nothing comes close to IQ for predicting a broad range of yada, yada, yada.
Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't believe this. Oh, wait, here, do I have the more rest of it? Oh, no. Anyways, yeah, I was shocked to see it. I thought it was like a spoof.
I thought you were kidding. I did think you were kidding.
Yeah,
it's like you think that one statement. Oh, actually,
I got rid of it too soon.
Well, they just said they had no identity, and it was kind of like, oh, so then the flip side of that is like the person who mailed it out is basically saying like my skin is my identity, which is very, I don't know, not a very advanced thought. It's just kind of like, okay, you didn't choose your skin, nor did you choose the color, or culture you were raised in, and made that. You actually had to learn that, and then you made that your identity, which is kind of a weak basis for identity. Mm-hmm. Like, well, you got to be learning who you are, not who you are with respect to the color of your skin. It's kind of like, oh, okay, that wasn't well thought out.
Well, what do you expect from a racist who spreads stuff like that, right? Like, if I got that, I'd be like,
I would have laughed.
There's the nerve to do
I would
something.
have been like, huh.
They did get caught.
I find it interesting though that he was able to get into people's mailboxes. Like,
Yeah.
huh? Does that mean like the postal service is in on this? Like, is there something?
Yeah, and Wilford University owned apartment buildings, so are the university level, administration involved in this too? Are they spewing the hate speech?
There was a dude, a dark-skinned dude that kept coming over, and they were very concerned. Security were concerned, and this was their strategy.
Right? Like, I don't,
That's terrible. I mean, was that a Vista print? Like, I'm like, where my mind goes. Like, how do you make so many copies? Like,
yeah, it's so cheesy.
Like, you had a bunch of copies. You made copies. And then mailed them. So
could you imagine like that person at Staples and
that's what I mean.
You kind of like look. You want me to print 5,000 of these? Like, is that a mistake?
That's what I mean. Like, I'm gonna need 5,000 copies of this.
What's your name?
I know. Like, when can I pick these up?
Let's call. No, don't worry. I'll just show up when I think they're ready.
And then like to pay postage on them.
Postage, everything. Like, yeah.
Like, so he had one of those machines.
So they were clearly older. Like, still believed in postal.
Yeah, so it's an older demographic.
Racist.
Maybe it's a young dude with old ideas. I don't.
That's the cover up. That's to use postage.
They'll never catch me.
Put it in the mail. No one reads their mail.
No one reads this.
Everyone throws it out.
No one reads the mail. Just bring my propaganda. Never mind social media.
Unreal.
Oh, that's terrible.
They even failed at making it more viral than it could have been.
Well, yeah, it just makes it circles back to just poor education. It's like, okay, we're right about IQ, and it's like that was just not an educated move to make.
Well, like, what do you expect though? Like,
Terrible. It's just terrible.
But to stay on upbringing, how would you say like your upbringing from elementary to high school to post-secondary? Would you say it was pretty standard? Did you move a lot? Did you go to different schools? Like, you have a close set of friends all the way through?
You know what? It was pretty typical. I don't really have anything awesome. Like, yeah, no, y'all.
No, but your story's still interesting.
It was okay.
You might not think so, I guess. Like, I never think that what I'm sharing is
true.
Super interesting. But if you put it in a story, I think people, they've been listening.
What I find interesting actually is the two schools. The first, the elementary school, and then the middle school. The two schools. Actually, the three schools. So the first high school. It's like I switched high schools halfway through. But,
okay, how was that? I'd like to know.
Okay, I'll jump back to that one. The three schools are all gone. Like the high school's still there, but the physical buildings of the other one, they're gone. And so I'm like,
I know the one. Yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't rape you out of my childhood. Like, what's this? Come on, like,
everything you touch gets
everything.
High schools are removed.
Well, yeah, both of the high schools have changed. They're not anymore. The building.
Oh, okay, I know the other one.
Yeah,
the other ones. Started with a B.
Yeah.
You went there first, and then you went to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, but
wow. Which one did you go to first?
Hill Park.
Yeah. Okay, and then no kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So the transition was really interesting because my older sister went to the high school, so I didn't really get into too much, grief because my fortunate. My sister was kind of at the end of her high school thing, and she knew a lot of people, and so, well, it's my kid brother, look out for him, whatever. So
Okay, that's nice.
that's why everything was just kind of seamless for me. I was like, okay, someone's paving the way. Thank you for me.
Yeah.
Worry too much, and I was fortunate to be able to be friends with a lot of different groups.
Mm-hmm.
You had what the high school groups are.
The jocks, the nerds, the drama.
Exactly. So drop in on all of them and just
okay,
well-rounded experience. I really actually enjoyed those years. Those were fun. Those were pretty cool. I have almost no regrets. Unfortunately, there's very little photo evidence of the foolish getting into it. And I mean, the good clean one. We're doing those stage, what do they call them, lip sync battles. And
talent shows.
Talent shows and all that
kind of thing. Yeah,
ridiculousness. Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that growing up.
So this thing was always performing arts.
No. Well, yeah, that was kind of in there, but my thing was probably anything different. I always whatever was the basics I'd cover, math, English, blah, 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 blah. I'd be fine. I wouldn't I'd be honest and be okay, whatever. But I'd always look for something that's a little different. I did the law class. I had no interest in law, but I was I just need to know some basics. All right, cool. I just need to know the base. But then later I was hey, fashion design is pretty cool. That was my first actual art type thing that I was interested in.
Okay. I was going to say you always dress well, so.
Well.
Did you have an interest right in the beginning? Or you groomed yourself into that?
Well, I had help. That was not.
Okay, you know what? Let me add this, because I went to Catholic school. We had uniforms, so no worries. You know what I mean? It's a great way of masking socioeconomic, cultural. Everybody's maroon, black pants, white, black, kilt, what, you're all going to wear the same thing somehow. So you're not going to be different. And there were people that would try to make things different, but I'm dude, we're still wearing the same stuff. Did
you enjoy that?
I did. Super easy. Didn't have to worry about a thing, right? And then you know what? The mentality is actually you have to try harder to create a persona, a brand, or whatever. You know what I mean? You really have to stand out in what you do, not how you look. You know what I mean? But I was all about athletics, so that was me. Other people, if you were artsy or whatever, that's how you kind of got branded, is for the things you chose to partake in, right? You can just rule out, oh, this guy got swag, this gal, you could have funky hair, but you're still wearing the same uniform as everyone. I suppose in a public school, it's you're straight exposed every day.
Yes, but
I wouldn't say a fashion show, but some people make it that.
Yes, absolutely. But just to kind of go back to what you said about it, just wearing the uniform made it about what you could do, not about what you looked like.
Yeah.
Which I'm waiting this pencil because you got my brain because my brain's you know what, that's interesting. I worked at a Catholic school, and and I understood the uniforms, the uniformity, the coming together, that whole thing. But I never thought about the contrast and the experience of the public school and so the uniform from that angle.
No, you wouldn't.
Exactly. I wouldn't.
Who's going to explain that to you? You just probably looked at it well, look at those geeks. They got to wear the same thing. And I was well, I don't have to worry about buying like I could spend more on my shoes, my basketball shoes, than I don't have to worry about like.
That's right. That's right. And I'm going to guess and say you're going to continue the tradition for Catholic school, correct?
Yeah, well, my wife and I like both, but actually, so she went to Hill Park as well,
That's right.
as a matter of convenience. So
As a matter of
I bug her all the time.
but
You choose convenience over your faith. Or your parents did.
yes,
Both elementary, middle school, and or whatever, because public's different in that sense here.
that's right.
I don't know what they call it, elementary, middle school, and then high school. Like we would have one elementary grades, junior kindergarten to 8, and then 9 to, back then, 9 to 13.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So I only went, so I wondered myself, with respect to your upbringing, like for me, one elementary school, one high school, one university. My pattern was very consistent, and that's where I feel like I excel. Even with my work, it's slow and constant change, like consistent. Like so, everything that I do, it's about association with a good, solid team. Doesn't have to stand out. Has to be progressive, but like have traditional values. So everything that I do, where I work, what I choose to do, I look for consistency, right? Like, and proven success, proven methods or whatever, right? Because my parents didn't move. One house, one elementary school, that's it.
Wow, that's incredible.
My mom had a very the funny thing is, as I say, my wife went to the closer school, not the closest Catholic school. My mom is very much about that. To this day, she won't move because same church, 40 years, same grocery store, 35 years.
Yeah,
not going to disrupt anything.
No, and then you're going to come to a point where your mother's wants to age in place because of the familiarity of that life. That's my grocery store. That's my place that I go to. That's why would I change that? Why would I want to? So it's interesting. Wow.
But if you're going to grow, you need that change, right? Like, so, I try to take growth and risks in other ways, even though I like to, same thing, like my wife and I, we like to live in the same house. This is our second house, and this is the one we're going to stay, hopefully, for forever, right? Like, some people, they know they're going to move in 3 years, 5 years. They already, it's mapped out, but change is instituted into that.
Right.
Whereas others, they make a concentrated effort to not have change, and that's why they plan so much and so well. So it's interesting, right?
Right.
I wondered if you
not to change.
If you had that kind of same path as well. So you change high schools midway. How was that? Because that would be terrifying for me.
Oh, actually, I was going to say something. It was scary at first, but the thing is, as I mentioned, my sister preceded me. She was at the high school, so when I came, I fit in just fine.
Okay.
I wanted to know if I could just go to another school and fit in just fine.
That was a motivating factor for you? The number one?
Subconsciously it was, because now that we're talking about this, I realize I did that in high school, but that's not the only time I've done that.
Okay.
Where I'm like, hey, can I go over there and do the same thing? Can I go over there and still fit in?
You're awesome.
When I was in high school, I fit in. I was just fine.
Yeah.
But can I, without my sister going,
right,
just go there and just be who I am and find my own. And yeah, it was great. It was nerve-wracking at first, attending, and I think it was even mid-semester, maybe. I don't even know. Maybe it was September. No, it was September, yeah. Going in, walking the halls, not knowing, maybe I knew one or two people, but they weren't really, from a friend to a friend.
Acquaintances.
Yeah, it was kind of like, oh, but like the whole experience was really, really cool.
So what grade was that?
That was, oh wait, that was grade 10.
So you did 1 year, and then
It was half.
Sophomore year.
Yeah. So it was, yeah.
And it was halfway through the year?
It was halfway through the year. It was yeah. Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Look at me.
I'll say. I admire that. That's so
interesting.
Wow.
But yeah.
Regrets, or it was the best move? Like, how did that?
Yeah, no, it was. I didn't know it then, but it was kind of like developing that, like that trait of throwing yourself in that situation and seeing what happens. Like going, because I ended up moving, to BC. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna move to BC for a year and just see what happens, kind of thing.
Right.
Not knowing a soul type thing, right? So that's what I mean. Where I realize I do that. I'm like, oh, can I throw myself?
Yeah, you do that. Can I do a podcast with this Filipino Canadian guy? How do I get along with a guy like that?
Easy.
That's why I lowered myself.
The nicest man in the world.
That's about it, though.
Well, what's funny, because I'm always reverse engineering shit, and I'm like, it's just the way our circumstances and our paths cross. I'm like, so deep down, sure, yeah, I wanted to talk and geek out about shit that I like, but how? Like, how can I do this? And then you show up one day, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and I immediately invite you because I'm like, this guy's ideal. This guy's the talent.
And I'm like, finally, somebody I could just soak it up from. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
Well, you did talk about because you had all the equipment, and you did talk about setting up the YouTube channel too. Was that before we connected, or? Yeah,
that was
around the same time, a little bit after, like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Before. It was actually before. Yeah. So I had it all, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do this, not really thinking it all through, jumping in. And then here you are. I'm like, sweet, like, this is pro, like, send me a pro. Boom, here's a pro. Let's do this. It was really like a no-brainer. Because I remember the first, talking about first time when you just invited me on to the Nobodies. I was like, this is so cool. This is so fucking cool. Like, this guy's amazing. And like, he's got it up, and I was a fan from day one. So when you were like, yeah, let's do this, I'm like, I've been waiting for this a long time.
No kidding. So that what a special circumstance. But then I identified that in you, and just the way that we converse. It's like this can be of value, right? It's entertaining.
Yeah.
It's just like come to start thinking, because we're in this context. When I meet people, it's like, can they fit in that context? They wouldn't think about it, but it's like, you just tend to know who you have chemistry with and who can bring both information and kind of entertainment all into one. And just like, you just know when people are well versed in conversation.
Yeah, yes, you get that feel like, okay, this is where you just feel good. You just come away like,
yeah, I could keep talking to these people, you
don't notice the time. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. And you can connect on so many different subject matter.
Yes.
But we actually bring different interests to the table, and I think that's why I always say this: people that are too alike, they might think that they'd be a good podcast or video vlog or whatever, but two people that are alike are more annoying than anything.
We start to sound the same. You're like,
it's like, as the third person on outside looking in, it's like, well, I'm not a part of that. where that's why I think folks like debates and clashing heads or like, you know what I mean? They like heated arguments to make more and better.
Absolutely. Listen, everybody wants a little bit of drama in their life. Like everyone's like, no drama, no drama. It's like, so you want a boring life?
You don't want to watch like two nice people compliment you just get sick of it, right? It's like people you detest. You're like, oh, and then you actually think like, I'm not like that.
Exactly. It's like,
okay, I guess the Kardashians had that. Seacrest saw in them like holy the dramatics in all of this, but they still maintain the family unit.
Well, that's it. And I think that's sort of a clue that points to their cleverness. Because a lot of people that aren't will just look at that and they'll just put it down and say this, that, the third.
Not give it a chance, right?
And not give it a chance and not understand that at their core, their family dynamic is probably a lot stronger than
it would appear, right?
Appear, absolutely, because there's editing going on. There's a story.
Yeah.
There's a continuity. There's a height they need to live up to. It's kind of like if you don't take those into consideration and don't see at the core, like family isn't falling apart. No, they're actually. It looks like they're airing out their shit, and you're eating it up, and they're getting stronger. you know.
Yeah, he came. Okay, come on, buddy.
He wants to be on.
He wants to be on.
He was
okay, I love what I've taken from what you said in your upbringing. You took a chance, and okay, come on, buddy.
Yes.
Oh, jeez. You took a chance. You've taken chances, and they've if not paid off for you, but they helped you to grow. And I'll say, yeah, some of the funnest things that I've done, I've just like pulled the trigger and went with it.
Yeah, because you got to get outside your comfort zone for a bit.
Yeah.
And that requires that leap of faith, that jump. Like, okay, I don't know how this is all going to work, but I have faith that it's going to work to my advantage somehow.
Right.
Not to, and I mean that's just the mindset of, hey, this has got to work out somehow. So your brain's going to figure out. It's like, okay, challenge. All right, challenge accepted. How are we going to make this work? Instead of taking the jump and going, I shouldn't have. It's like, well,
yes.
Yeah, you should have, and you should keep on going.
I've taken enough that I've proven to myself that worst case scenario rarely happens.
Yeah, that's
like you always think of worst case scenario. You think of exit strategy. You think of all the possibilities, and then you hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most of the time when you take that jump, it's rare that it goes to the worst case scenario because your mind is trained to think of that. But in all possibility, in all likelihood, it's not really. It shouldn't end up that way. As long as your intentions are good. Whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just going to add, I can't remember where I heard this, but it was your mind isn't trained for success. It's trained to keep you safe.
Right.
So if you don't take the chances, you're just going to be safe, autopilot. That's just it, right? So, like, well,
okay. Yeah.
If I don't get a hold of this, if I don't understand that, like I need to take the risk, and it could a small measurable risk in the path towards success, then my default is just going to be safety. Just going to be safe. I'm going to be safe.
Yeah.
You don't know, but at least you're safe.
Yeah, I heard something recently which was truly interesting, and to shelter yourself from risk is to take risks, because most people don't take them because of the worst case scenario. So it's actually better to take risk and you're safer than if you don't do anything. I butchered probably the description.
It takes a while to wrap your head around that, because it seems counterintuitive. Like, what?
Exactly.
Like, wait, no,
you're actually worse off if you don't take any risk at all.
That's right.
And that's the risk is not doing anything. Yeah.
That's right. The risk of staying the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? You almost have to question everything that's mainstream now.
Constantly. You gotta, I realized and heard the phrase, it was like, what do I know for sure? And I'm just like, well, actually, what do I know? Like, concrete, 100%, without a doubt, what do I know for sure? And it's like, well, not that much. Not that much. If you really sit and think, and you trace it back, and you think, well, I know that for sure. It's like, well, think about it. Do you really know 100%? It's like, nah, you don't. You don't. So I've accepted, like, I don't know 100%. I don't. And I don't need to, and I don't want to. Like, that's really, I don't want to know. That's probably a good reason why I don't know that. So, but if I need to know it, that's different. I'm like, all right, I need to know
I wanted to share this one, Mark Twain. It ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that ain't so.
Wow. Wow. There it is. There it is. There it is. You got to keep asking yourself, what do I know for sure? What do I know? I don't know. I know. And people always say, you don't know. You're right. I didn't know. You didn't know. Right. I didn't know.
When you switch time zones end to end, what was the biggest fear there? Finding accommodations, finding a job. Did you have a job lined up? Like,
oh no, I didn't. It was literally like
how much did you have in your pocket? Because you always hear like, The Rock had $7, $7 Productions is his company now, right?
Oh,
He
really?
had $7 in his pocket. He was living in his car. Like,
Well, I was richer than The Rock when I moved out west.
see, what's your excuse?
I like that. I was
More money than The Rock. When you
I was richer than The Rock. No, well, the one thing I did, I don't remember how much I had. I know it wasn't much, but I remember getting a plane ticket. One way was like, it was less than $70. I know for sure I paid $70.
Just blue special? What the heck?
Yeah, it was like this. I don't know.
$70 from
$70 to get all the way to BC. And I remember trying to come home one year, and it cost me almost $800 one way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was. Oh my gosh! When I moved out there, I didn't have a place. I just grabbed a paper. I didn't know the area. I was like, okay, I know the main transit is this, and I don't know. Okay, I'll explain the way that I did it, and you can say what you will. So I didn't know where to pick, and I didn't know, anybody to go, hey, where's a good area? But I figured, okay, I'll just figure out the main way to get around, which is the SkyTrain system.
Right.
And then as long as I live within proximity, I could just hop on that SkyTrain and it'll take me all through where I need to be, right? Like, I don't know where to go. Mm-hmm. So I figure if I start looking at proximity and prices, that will tell me if it's a good area or bad area. Mm-hmm. Right? So let's say a property that is a 2-kilometer walk is $800 a month versus this property that's a 1.5 kilometer walk, and that's twice as much. Clearly, the one that's twice as much is a nicer area. So I'm going to find the spot that's in between. I can't afford the nicer area, and I don't want to live in the worst area because I know that's just going to be. And I just equated it to like, okay, that's East End. Like, I don't.
Your instincts are so awesome. Like, I would have been just like, what can I afford? That's where I'm going.
Well, interesting. When I got there, I didn't have a job. I just had enough to be like, okay, I can afford.
Was BC like you knew BC, or like what were the other possibilities?
It was Burnaby, UBC, downtown, like North Van, downtown.
It would have been anywhere in
yeah, it was just because the SkyTrain is like basically the TTC. So.
Oh no, I mean like even before like you decided.
Oh,
was anywhere else you considered?
No,
Had you been there before?
no, no. I had not.
Wow.
I'd not been there before. There was none of the other. Yeah, it was kind of like people were just talking about Vancouver. I'm like, no, I should just go and see for myself. Like, why don't I just go? Because I don't want to take someone's bad advice.
That's true.
So I just go, whatever. And then I was like, I gotta find a job. So I just walked into a restaurant and was like, hey, you should hire me. And they did. They actually did.
Nice.
I printed a whole bunch of resumes. I only needed one, which was really cool.
Amazing. Look at you. You're such a life. I love it. Holy smokes.
Find myself a job, and I walked in the place. They're like, yeah, sure. You want to start tomorrow or whatever? I was like, okay, sure. That was that. Crazy. Crazy.
Okay, so where did you stay when you first arrived then? Hostel? Like, what did they?
No. Like, when I flew in, the guy that I ended up renting from, he actually met me at the SkyTrain. The SkyTrain goes all the way to the airport, so I could.
Yeah. I recall that. Yeah.
Yeah, hop on the SkyTrain, go all the way. I ended up in Burnaby.
Burnaby. Okay, cool.
Yeah, around Edmund Station. I worked out. I was like, oh shit. I gotta go. Proximity. It was kind of far. It was all right. It was like, but I was like, I went with the intention of going. If this place sucks, sight unseen, I'm going to move. And obviously, I got the job. I want to be closer to where I worked, so I moved to a closer area.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved because I wanted to walk to work. That was just a thing I wanted to do. So I was like, I'm just gonna 2 foot, whatever. Yeah, it's really cool. Really, yeah, so I ended up as a server in a server at Earl's. It was really
okay.
Yes, it was.
Earl's was already popping out west, right?
It was before I came over this way. It was popping. So I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. This was my first full-fledged server job too.
Okay. Oh, no experience or like?
Well, I bartended here and there, and kind of there were a couple tables, but that was like, you had to wear the nice,
Oh yeah, the whole
Yeah, you had to. Right. It was It wasn't like fine. It was cool.
Oh, social though, good place to meet people actually. Probably around like your age at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I realized was just that it was honing my service skills. Like it was one other job, right? Like only because I've been in food service, customer service. I think every job that has a customer service element, I think every job is customer service at its core anyway, because it just helped me to understand that culture. It's like, okay, I get what good service is. I get what poor service is, and sort of all the iterations in between. So it was.
I love that you said that. I love that you said that. That's a job that I believe almost everyone should young adult should do. Like
absolutely,
there's like etiquette of eating, breaking bread, and like serving. Like,
yes, it's
so hard. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
The people that are so unreasonable with like restaurants like that, service jobs. Like, I'm like they probably never been in a customer service role. Like, because why would you treat people badly or blame them for stuff that's not in their control? Like,
especially if it's around food, like it just
get over yourself. You're not cooking tonight. Like that should be the luxury should end there. Okay, if the food is decent, like you chose it, so you would know if you'd like it or not. So.
Exactly. I was saying one thing that just really bothers me, I would say,
Good. Let's hear it.
is when customers complain and they go, it's not about the money. When they start with that phrase, it's not about the money.
Sure.
It is always about the money. Like it just, and to be honest, like this is just straight up honesty from a survey. I've been a survey. It would be better to say, hey, this is about the money. I'm paying X amount and I expect this. At least
Yes. At least you'd be honest and
don't be a douche and go, it's not about the money, and then make it about the money and say how much you usually spend here. Because that always comes up after how much they spend. It would just, everybody would be a lot happier if you went, I spend. Like it is about, just so we're clear, this is about the money, not your poor service.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it is about your poor service, but it's also about, more importantly, my money and your tip. Like, put it that way. Everybody's on the same page. No one's offended. Believe me.
Yeah, it's a business.
It's a bit. Both people will understand that. Go. It's
If a restaurant could get away with giving you less for more, they would.
They would.
If the food was free, you'd be here more often, and you'd never complain. Yeah,
Ever. That's right.
that's hilarious.
That's right.
Like, I used to say, like, if you wanted to go learn about a place you're new to the region, like, find a real estate agent.
Wow.
Because I mean, like, they got to know the lay of the land, right?
Yeah, that's
Where to
right.
go, where to avoid, where to eat.
Huh. See?
Pretend to be looking for something and then ditch them.
You know what? I see a story developing there. I can see somebody just calling up they move. They're like, hey, you want to go out on a couple property dates?
Yeah, exactly. I want to, number one, I want to interview if I have the right person. So maybe we could go for a lunch or a light lunch or breakfast, maybe a coffee. All right, okay, seems reasonable. Like, you know, they want to make the right decision. They're not from here, right? 2-3 coffees later or breakfast. Okay, I think I actually want to look for something. Okay, all right. Well, how come we always eat after? Hello? Remember me? What happened? You're not interested anymore? It's a way to go. Like, I'm like, yeah, we're suckers for that.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
Especially when you catch them like early in the career, like, you know, some agents will go for everything, right? They don't care if you got the money or you're pre-qualified. They just go by your word, right?
Oh, that's too funny.
Oh yeah, like if you watch like the timeline of an agent, right? Like enthusiasm's high, skill level low. They'll talk to everybody, any type of like, right? And then as you like move down the time, it's like, oh yeah, the first question that you're gonna like if I get a call, like we call it a sign call or an email about like a listing or something, I'm like, number one, do you have an agent already? And are you already pre-approved for? Do you got the money? Because I don't even want to show you the house if you got either one of those. It's so cynical.
Oh, that's. I feel a story developing here. Just beautiful. The cynical real estate agent, like, but that is something everybody has probably encountered.
Yeah, no, seriously.
But didn't realize it though. Like the agency on the other end, you just assume like they're up to screw, they're up to blah, blah, blah.
Oh my gosh! Let me tell you, I did show my property about a week or so ago, and it went really well. And they're like, "Oh, I really like you. We want to work with you." And it was like too easy. Like you don't usually just meet people. Like that's what open houses are for.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you know, you're giving me good advice, and we want to work with you. And I'm like, you don't even have the money. That's why this is too easy. Like they can't be like that. Like it's. I know why, because you couldn't even possibly even buy whatever I could show you if you wanted to, because you know what I mean. It's like Of course they want to work with you because something's missing and they feel like you could fill that void, but they're not being completely honest.
That's right.
There's
Oh,
a phrase in real estate, we say buyers are liars.
wow. You gotta elaborate on that because I'm like,
Yeah, in another context. So that's one context. There's like, oh yeah, we're totally in, we're on board. And then you're like, okay, do you have minimum down payment? Do you have this? Do you have that? Like, oh yeah, no problem. Like, my uncle's giving it to me. Like, here we go. Here we go. Uncle now, huh? Okay. And then like, they tell you what they want. They tell you what they don't want. Because that's how you develop a search, right? No sense looking at everything that comes out. Like, let's narrow it down, filter it.
right,
And then only look at the properties that are ideal for you, etc.
right.
They tell you that. You send them listings. And then it becomes, oh, I don't mind condos now. Like, at the beginning, it's like, I don't want no fees. I want a detached house only, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, like finished basement, triple car garage. Like, oh, okay. All right. It's gonna be hard, but okay, we'll see. Send it to them. I'm not liking, like maybe townhouses now. And then you look at that, and then it becomes like it just dwindles down to its own monster. It becomes something else. So that's where it was derived from. Buyers are liars.
Oh, that's good.
Like you can't work with people who aren't completely open and honest. So I try to be the same way. And I'm to the point now, like I have enough time invested that it's like I don't care about the harshness because you deserve the truth more than my kindness, like my etiquette, right? Like I would rather not offend you necessarily, but I'd rather tell you the truth than like string you along and then just set you up for disappointment. Like that's my, but that's like a seasoned realtor now, versus the beginning enthusiasm. It's like, I'll answer. We go, okay, let's go. I'll be there.
That's right. Now you're like the grizzled soldier, like, no.
Yeah, like there's I'm not, hey, just saw your property at 123 Main Street. See you there in 2 hours.
Nah.
Can you show it to me in half an hour? Like, hello? In what other industry do we allow the client to dictate the professional? You know what I mean? And that's where realtors get a bad rap. And we earn that because, shitty habits and bad stories, it's like, and we let the public and clientele, kind of, set us up for that. And
wow,
it's because I think there's a lot of people in the profession that dabble.
Oh, okay, they're not
they're not full-time into it, and like it's the perception of making money is very easy, but it's like everything else. If you don't have the time and you don't put the time, the energy, and the risk, and you don't treat it like a job or business, then of course, I mean, like you're not going to excel. But
wow, wow, that's
the public perception, by and large, highly influential of how realtors obviously are perceived.
Yeah, well, you know what, and it's funny to hear you speak about this, because knowing, again, you were the nicest man that anyone will ever meet, but to hear the other, your perspective on that is just, it's actually,
behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, and then to think like, this just accentuates how nice you are. So like, if this is what's going on, and you are presenting,
I still can put on a smile.
No, like, oh my gosh, man, like, seriously.
Can I share with you where being as nice as I am, I guess, has hurt me?
Yeah, what?
Yeah, no. Like I've heard before, because you don't get every single listing that you compete for. But some people would prefer like the more aggressive, non-nice person because they don't think that the nice guy can do as well as the aggressive guy or girl, or guy or gal.
I see.
So you see that can hurt as well. So I do know that my evolution as a real estate agent has changed as well. I have tried to demonstrate that I can have both sides. I actually negotiate very aggressively. I'm fair.
Yes.
I always keep relationship at the forefront, but I'm ruthless when it comes to, because it's competition, right? So
and that's what you enjoy. Like it's
well, because I come from the sport background, and it's like, I love that. That's what drives me, right? Like it's. But how do you market or share that, right? Like people want to know that you're nice and trustworthy first. But sometimes if I find that if you lead more with the aggressive, like, kind of raging bull, you're going to turn off more people.
Well, here's the thing. I think those people, the customers that expect that from you, you don't want anyway.
That's the thing. Like if you don't want to work with me, it's not like, guess what? Don't flatter yourself.
That's right.
Like, I don't want to work with you either.
Because I'm assuming these customers that are looking for that, are looking for that because they themselves,
right,
are that.
Or lack it.
Exactly.
They're so nice. They don't want to be taken care of, offended. They don't want to be taken advantage of. So they're going to look for the opposite because they're going to complement each other.
They want someone to take advantage of somebody else. It's like,
because they can't do it.
Somebody else.
Yeah. I'm going to get the pit bull. That's why I say, like, when we talk about omnipresence, it's more important that I'm top of mind out there, because sometimes best known beats best product. Best known beats best service. So you can be the best service provider in the world, but nobody knows you. It doesn't matter. Right. So sometimes people will go for just what's best known. And you know what? I did it myself. I was looking for electrician maybe. And I would go in the yellow pages, like online, whatever, Google. And whoever invested the most is going to show up. You think that, like, that's the guy for you.
Yeah.
Little do we know that person could be like, like quite new, shoddy work, like. So that's unfortunately, and it's only a one-off situation sometimes.
Right.
You might only need a realtor once or twice in your life. So what do? You just sometimes the easiest, because we're lazy. We're just go for the first thing that falls in your lap. Don't do your homework. Don't get multiple quotes. Don't conduct multiple interviews.
Yeah.
So whoever the first or who splashes the most signage, that might be the person that you go with. And if they get the job done, that's your only criteria, right? But if you talk to another insider, so to speak, or that's why hopefully in these situations you talk to friends and you get a referral, and they send you to someone that they had a good experience with. And then your standard is more than just getting the transaction done.
There you go.
Right.
I think that's what it is. Like you said it. So it comes back to that relationship, right?
Yeah, and the tough part is everybody's expectations are different.
Yeah.
So you have to, at very least, have competency and deliver on what you're there to do.
Yeah.
It's help them find the house or sell it or whatever. But yeah, it's interesting. It's changing. Been quite busy the last couple of weeks, and
that's amazing.
Right, I noticed
two questions. Actually, one. Now that you said you're getting busier,
just because like people's comfort level the start of the year was very busy, and then I did not expect the drop off, but it's obviously because of the COVID-19 situation. So now warm weather, people frustrated that they had to hold off, like it just erupted.
So, second questions. I know where you would fall in this lineup, but where would you classify the rest of the real estate agents on a whole on
As a majority or no?
as a majority,
Okay.
what would you classify them for one of the seven dwarfs? You're you're happy for sure. You're either happy or
Bashful or like.
nah. Well,
What's the miserable one? Who's the one that pretends?
um,
I'm gonna make new dwarfs.
okay, actually, yeah, if you got to make new dwarf, I'm gonna do Google the dwarfs. But you just take a moment. If you got to make a new dwarf, make a new dwarf.
Okay, here's the seven real estate dwarfs. I'm not even gonna go all seven, but like you're like serious super achievers. Like that's gonna be 1 out of 10, right? Where they're just like, I wouldn't say whatever they do they'd be successful in, but their drive, is of the utmost importance, and that's why they excel at what they do. But
Right.
generally speaking, it's not going to be 100% service. It's going to be, they're going to excel at marketing and building leads and bringing in business.
Right.
You're not going to get, there's no such thing, I believe, as 100% marketing and 100% service. The service is going to suffer. Because in fact, you get to a level where like that one team leader eventually has many people on their team, so you're not really going to even consult with them.
Right.
And
Right.
then it becomes the brand. Like I went with this person's team to sell or buy my home. And that's the audience that they get. People who feel like satisfied by being with that brand. So they may not realize it, but I believe like the service is going to suffer depending on who they end up getting, but they could still end up with a very good professional real estate agent. But to me, if your interests lead with that, then you're just about, you want it to, your experience had to be wrapped around like that brand, not the person anymore. Where most people, I believe, get the referrals to a person from someone who had a good experience. Well, then you're going to someone that's going to take care of you, and who cares?
Right.
Will manage it, right? And the people that have teams versus the individual agents, the team people will always say, well, we can offer more because there's more of us. And then the individual people will always say, we'll do better because we can do more hands-on. So it just depends on what you want, right? Do you want an oil change from the dealership, or do you want the 15-minute one?
From the guy down the street.
Yeah, and there's varying degrees, but frankly, in this industry, it's like 5% of the people do 90% of the 95% of the business. 10% of the people do 90% of the business. 90-10. I can't say 80-20. That's not a Pareto principle. It's a lot smaller group. Like there's a group of probably 300. There's 3,300 agents in Hamilton, Burlington. Like probably 300 of them do most of the transactions.
Wow.
Right? Because there's a lot of dabbling. There's a lot of licensed but do no deals, licensed but have other jobs, licensed but do it part-time. And then, there's light full-time that do a bit here and there, and full-time that make a decent living, and then there's full-time that make it a business. And that goes for anything.
That's crazy. That's
the inside, like, of at least what goes on here. I imagine it's really the same everywhere.
Next level, I guess. Well, obviously, with the bigger market, the bigger properties, bigger market, bigger everything.
But even within that, there's subsections. There's agents that just want to do condos. There's agents that just want to do farming. There's commercial agents. There's residential agents that just do first-time buyers. Like they excel. Like you have your niche, right?
Right. So I just pulled up the seven dwarves, and I'm like,
yeah, I would say most of them are like the pretender dwarves now, because like especially because now social is such a big thing. Like agents use social in lieu of like really face-to-face lead generation.
Right.
Agents want social media to do all the heavy lifting.
Okay. So, but is that again? I guess this is a nice segue. Is that geared towards the audience and the market?
No,
That's what.
it's about the agent, and I think like that. What I'm finding is I try not to do as much of the same style. I think people, they think activity is just posting things, but we're not thinking, is it beneficial to the client? You get what I'm saying? It's more the agent's ego than it is what message are you sending.
So
Don't forget, like, you know, like there's two reasons to advertise, so to speak. Like, it's one is to build your brand, and the other is to drum up business.
right.
Well, I think a lot of agents just put stuff out there for, like, look at me, look what I'm doing, right?
Right.
Guess forgetting that, like, if you don't have business, you're never going to build.
Like the building brand and drum up business. In that respect, with how agents are sort of, are they, they're not driving the market, but how are they influencing the market, I guess, is my question. Because as you said, it really, you're seeing a lot of social media doing the heavy lifting for agents. What kind of perception do you think that's having on markets or on people potentially looking for, hey, I'm trying to figure out who's who, what's what, trying to figure out my place in this market?
Yeah. I think the agents that sell the most real estate set the market because they're the ones who control pricing and inventory.
And are they primarily, like, how are they reaching audiences, basically?
25, 30 years in the business.
But they're the ones cashing in on their teams. Those are the ones you were talking about, like.
Yeah, that's right. It's a collective. It's a collective grouping using leverage of like people, you know, having employees, having their databases.
Okay.
And then they do social and everything else, the mailers and stuff like that. But I think the younger realtors try to go the other way
because they can't leverage it. They're trying. Okay, I see.
Because look, you got to spend money to make money. There's this one agent in Rhode Island. He does 500 transactions a year as a single agent. He has a team of like administrators and he has a driver. But like most agents by that stage would have other buyer agents, seller agents, and then they just kind of oversee the whole thing. This guy chooses to do all the appointments himself. And I'm like, wow. And he was he did a podcast interview and he said, like, most agents won't do this, but he's like, in my first couple of years, all of my income went back into marketing, lead generation, and you know, branding and everything. So that's why I think like now what you see is because social's free and agents, you know, by and large, especially when you're young, you don't want to spend money. In lieu of spending money, they use the free, but the free only gets you so much, right? And I think actually it's the free social media, depending on what you post, is detrimental. I don't think it's necessarily beneficial.
Do you think it's a case where they think they're building a brand and an image, and they're
confusing what it's doing. They think branding is lead generating, but it's not. They don't know the difference between the two. And they're not intentional about what they're putting. They're not thinking deeper, like what the message is.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Like, only so many people like flashy things. Like, so if you showed up with a Ferrari or a luxury house, so like they're like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Or immediately they're like, I hate you.
Yeah.
You're not relatable, this and that, right? But no, and there's no consistency. So, there's a lot of things that I noticed because there's trainers out there that, they recommend doing this kind of stuff. And when everybody does it, when are you different anymore? You know what I mean? Like everybody showcases the local coffee shop, everybody showcases the cool restaurant. I'm like, we're real estate agents. Like, yeah, that's secondary information, but like, I'm like, your job is your job, which is to negotiate, find, and sell. And, selling is a derogatory thing to many people. Like, salesperson is like the last thing that you do. So I think people are also self-conscious about saying that they're a salesperson. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, but you don't want the reputation of that.
Which is funny because it's at the end of the day, somebody in your lifetime will say, well, you got to sell yourself. You got to sell yourself.
Depending what you believe, selling is everything, right?
Selling is everything.
Yeah, that's right.
The moment you wake up, you're selling yourself on the idea of getting out of bed.
Waking up.
It's like, it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day.
Yeah. It's going to be worth it.
It's going to be worth it to get out of here. Come on. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Dad!
Exactly.
It
is. It's everything.
No, I found it really interesting because we're going to talk about being in the advertiser space in the sort of film industry, but I wanted to kind of delve into what omnipresence is with respect to how agents are using that to create. Who knows what they're creating? I mean,
I don't think very many do that. I can think of one that does, but as a concept, it would totally go over.
How can they use it effectively, though? In your opinion, like what are some of the things that they can be doing on social media to maybe establish a brand? Because they don't have that. They don't have the tenure as the tenure. They don't have the longevity or the bigness of the other teams. So, what should these up?
I think the model is different now, and it's heavily influenced by COVID. And that when you see these other trainers and so on, like you have to, and like fitness clubs and restaurants, you now have to reach out and give what it is you're doing right to the client. You have to give them a taste and then get them in a membership and then make them a client. So by that I mean like it's like instructional videos, gyms have to do like at-home workouts, restaurants have to do homemade meal menus, and like, so I think that's the model now, and you have to constantly be feeding your audience that.
Wow.
To demonstrate your expertise.
Huh. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So how do you do that as a real estate agent? I'm not going to share that because that's my next step. Yeah.
You heard it here first. Oh, we on the verge of something awesome.
I'm not going to cover local coffee shops and restaurants. Like I'm going to...
Been there, done that.
That's right. Yeah. More on the instruction side. And then the point of it ultimately is to... it's like, okay, this person keeps demonstrating over and over again. Like, why wouldn't you join forces with them when the time comes for you?
That makes sense. Wow.
Right. I think that's the wave of it's instructional, but it's marketing, right? So.
Yeah.
You're not going to door knock now. You're not going to you can't even do face to face really. So the face to face won't actually happen until you start to serve the client.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And that's where like self-confidence, content creation, and the work actually has to come in now. It's a different kind of work.
Wow, this becomes ever more important now because you need that presence where you can't have a physical presence.
Yeah, a virtual presence, right?
Virtual presence. Wow. Well done.
And I think that's the model for everybody. That's what I'm seeing anyways.
Yeah. Who are you?
The industries that have not given up during COVID have managed to find ways to enlighten and to entertain and to, keep their audiences connected, even though they can't open.
Yes. Yes. They've got to reconnect with their audiences, which have all kind of went underground.
Yeah.
Wow.
My good friend has a martial arts studio. They're going to have to do, they've done one-on-one lessons, but they have to do their group classes in half. And now what they're going to have to do is just provide online training. Because if you don't, the club that's going to do it is going to steal all your membership.
Oh, that's right. That's well, let's do this at home.
I know a personal trainer that does almost every day. He does at-home workout lessons, right?
Oh, so you zoom in and do the lesson.
Yeah, because if you don't do anything, they're going to forget about you.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like the physical place has already lost value. If you don't have anything to offer, then you're gonna lose value too, right?
Wow.
So how do you DIY it? DIY stuff's huge.
Yeah, well, you can't call nobody anymore. It's like you got to do it yourself now. You can't just have people come up in your home. You got to learn to do it yourself.
Like home furnishing, renovations, and outdoor landscaping and such. Like those places have not been impacted necessarily because people are at home all the time. So they're like, let's tackle this renovation while I'm home.
That's right. Wow. Huh.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so I mean, that's a summation of the real estate world and advertising.
That's your point of view from who you are, from the man I know you and what this industry is all about, man. Like it's a testament to who you are. So crazy. Advertising in the, I guess, TV industry, Canadian specific, actually no, US too, is very, obviously it's consumer driven. So broadcasters pay for airwaves with advertising dollars, right? So advertisers are obviously looking for their huge market shares and where the attention is on the big shows. So you have shows that have a procedural, which is like every week there's a new problem, like a CSI or or a Murdoch Mysteries. Those are they draw in huge numbers of viewers, right? And remember they have the Thursday night lineup and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Those were all sort of engineered around the viewing habits of the public, and then advertisers were like, okay, this is prime time. Like we've got a lot of people watching, so we're going to advertise, our top brands. And so the broadcasters would make these deals like, okay, well, we know X amount of people are watching at this time, so we're going to pay you X amount of money for these commercial slots. So naturally, TV had to fit that structure with the act breaks and the way things rise and fall, because leave it on the cliffhanger, go to the commercial, we got your attention, we know you're coming back. This is before streaming, obviously, right? So the models change, right? But it's crazy that if you think about it, advertising impacted the way stories are told.
Yes.
Which is the reverse for streaming. That's why there's this huge...
Right.
Where the content is allowed to be better.
Yeah.
The networks are like, well, people have been watching X amount of time, now it's commercial break, and this is the time that we're paying the bills with this commercial.
Right.
And how the diversity piece plays in is that when you got a lot of attention, a lot of eyes at a specific amount of time, and we're talking millions to advertise, you're going to hit that demographic that's watching that show, and you've got your market research up to you've got so much market research on this group of people that are watching this show. You're not the incentive to take a chance on diversity doesn't pay off, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That is a detriment. I'm not saying that's good. I'm saying this is how the system works. So it's like, okay, well, you got the argument of we need diversity. We want to see, people of color. We want to see women, and we want to see the change. We want to see people that represent, people of color on the screen. How do we get to there from our current model? And it's like, well, you got to think about what you're asking and the problems with all of that. Because as I just kind of explained the structure, and again, I'm not going to get too deep into this, but it's that if you want to create the change, you've got to go where the attention is focused.
Yes, absolutely.
And you've got to start creating stories that are worthy of people's attention.
Mm-hmm.
At the heart, it's like make those stories that people want to watch. Okay, now that we know people are watching these stories, we can kind of massage the advertising to fit this new dynamic that we're seeing. And that's what we're seeing now. It doesn't look like it yet, but that's where things are going to go. But in the future cast, we'll get into the drastic change from broadcast to streaming and how that's all going to change, because there's change coming.
Absolutely, in society and on content creation.
Yes.
Right? And I just want to add to that point, like you were saying, so basically the advertisers are in charge of the content, right? And there's strict guidelines as what to, is on television, especially when you think of 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
A successful black sitcom, probably the three most popular would be Cosby Show, Different Strokes, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And look at the similarities across those three.
Yeah.
Like you're talking like upper middle class.
Yep. Yes.
Black families.
Yes.
And I'm like, those are the only ones allowed to make it on the air, right?
Yes, and because it had a lot of appeal to other audiences too, right? So it was like
exactly.
That was it.
So if you're gonna have a black family in a sitcom featured, it has to have these specific criteria because specific audiences will tune in and then add dollars and this kind of thing would, right?
That's right. And there's interesting amount of politics that go on to make the choice of what ends up being shown, and from concept to like I'm going to make a show like Blackish or Black.
I was just going to say, yeah.
To make those things, there's a lot of dialogue that has to happen, because what I find so interesting is that it's like at the end of the day, it's about consuming the content. For me, it's just about, okay, what am I sitting down to invest my attention and time into? Mm-hmm. And surrounding that are corporations and decision makers that are like, well, these are the stories that we want to tell because these are the stories we want to tell. It's kind of like, right. What? Like, I find it fascinating and maddening at the same time.
So this discussion to be continued, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. We'll dive
segue introduction to it. So looking forward to that very, very much.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
There it is. So I think today we enlightened everybody a lot, into who we are and what we do. I love that you shared those moments in your life where you took the plunge, and I like how you explained that part of the rationale in doing so was to see if you could do it. And like, you know what, that's what life is. Constantly reinventing, changing, growing by challenging ourselves to do something that we don't exactly know the outcome to be.
That's it.
Character building.
That is it. Our brains are designed to keep us safe, not to make us successful. So you've got to train yourself for success.
That's it. Jump and the net will appear.
That is beautiful. That is nice.
Will appear. And I remember that I'm like, well, where am I jumping? What could that possibly be? I obviously was a metaphor for life. And it's amazing that you can revisit things that you learned a long time ago and then have some more context and more meaning. And then, I just hope it's not too late to apply these things.
No,
it's not. That's absolutely, you're right.
Absolutely.
Do it all the way until, your time is called. So,
yeah, no, this is
we inspire you guys to do exactly the same thing. Oh, this is awesome. I got to think of something to, right? Yeah. Not seek out risk, but it has to be in line with your good intention and what you want.
That's right. Well, it's got to be in line with your vision, right? It's got to be like, I know what I'm doing in life, and yeah, I've got to take a couple risks to get there, but I'm going to get there.
Right. And there's never losing, there's learning. Right.
Yeah.
It's always learning.
Always.
Oh, man. This so insightful. I hope people get the same constructive thoughts out of this. So it's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And the hell with them if they don't. I did. I did.
That's awesome, man. I'm so glad you shared that. And hopefully I didn't startle you with it.
Oh, what? No.
I said I got something for you because Chris messages me and he's like, okay, what do we got on deck? I'm like, not a whole lot. I want to keep ripping, but don't worry, I got something in mind.
I loved it.
Yeah, I put here, Chris upbringing must ask. I'm like, here we go.
I love it. Thank you. Always amazing. And again, the nice.
Nice, but not too nice. I can be aggressive. Don't.
Absolutely. And when I say nice, I mean you're going to be authentic. I should say the most authentic real estate. That's what he's the most authentic real estate agent you will ever meet. The incredible, the beautiful, the wonderful Neil Quinto. Thank you so much, bro. You are the best podcast buddy.
No, likewise. The dynamic in the dynamic duo, the sought after, the elegant, the eloquent, the maniac, the brainiac, the one and only, the incomparable Christopher Bernard. Signing off. This has been another episode of Podcast
and Chill, the best podcast
you never heard of until
right now. So
yes, smash that app. Leave us your comments. Yes. Present anywhere, everywhere, all at the same time. Good night, everybody. Thank you. We love you. Thanks for being in. All right. Until the next episode. Have a good night.